Social marketing for business. Social media is a critical part of everyone's life. And by that, we don't mean just businesses for this specific context, but everyone who has access to the internet. It is a trend growing faster than ever, even the internet itself. And the latter managed to reach 1 in every 6 people in its first decade. Social media beat that number to reach 1 in every 5 people. And that happened in just 9 years. Impressive, isn't it? So, when there is so much opportunity, how do you as a business take advantage of it? That's what this book is all about. In 10 easy-to-read chapters, we will take you through the process of creating a social media presence and using it to build your brand awareness, brand value, reach as many people as possible, build a loyal customer base, and realize your ultimate dream of selling your products or services to these individuals. Chapter 1, Introduction. Social media is a very effective way to reach the general public and turn them into paying customers. People the world over spend an inordinate time on their devices, and a big chunk of that is spent scrolling through social media feeds. If you are a business, there is no asset as resourceful and affordable as social media to understand consumer habits and buying patterns. These platforms are a boon for brands that want to disseminate information about their products and services. And if you use the right mechanism, you might be able to hit a gold mine of buyers. But like everything else, you need to have a strategy, and there are a few ways to do that right. The first step, of course, is to have a social media presence. Set up your accounts with a clear title and description. Add the URLs to your website, and make a plan to interact with your customers and potential buyers on a regular basis. This is how you reach them at a personal level. With the accounts in place, you have the chance to sell yourself the way you want and in a budget. The more you interact, the easier it is for your audience to associate themselves with your message. This way, they know your brand and feel connected with it. And those how want to know about it have an easy way of finding you and browsing your products and services. The more this happens, and it will over time, the more you learn about the kind of audience you are attracting and learn about their habits. It gives you the opportunity to tap into certain demographics and make a pitch. Then there is the big concern: budget. Make a strategy for your posts, and you can increase the incoming traffic to your page rather easily. Social media is one of the most inexpensive ways of marketing a product or a service. You don't need to work too hard once you know the message, and there are plenty of free tools at your disposal that can help you create quick and jazzy content. All you need to do is post consistently, and you will build a loyal audience in no time. That is why many bloggers use it to reach their readers and viewers without spending a single penny. So, whether you have a small budget or none at all, social media is a great place to start marketing your products and services without worrying about the costs. And if you are looking for someone to help create content or fill other positions, it is also a great place to advertise your requirements. Of course, this is not to say you can get away with a bad product or service, but if you have a winner in your hands, you just need to learn a few tricks of the trade to sell it. That starts with the creation of SEO content. This is done by using the right keywords and tags to help your content gain visibility. If you didn't know it already, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. With the right words, your posts and page will get a better ranking from search engines like Google. This means when a potential or existing buyer is looking for products or services like yours, your content is shown higher up in the search engine, results page, or SERP because of the right keywords and tags. Social media is also a great way to stay in the minds of your customers. In marketing terms, this is often referred to as top-of-the-mind recall or top-of-the-mind awareness, or TOMA. And it means just that. When a customer is thinking of the products or services that you offer, your brand is one of the things, if not the first one, they recall. For example, oftentimes, Apple is for smartphones, Domino's is for pizza, Lay's for chips, Coke for soft drinks, and so on. This is done by creating an image for your brand that is hard to forget. Social media is an extremely useful tool when it comes to this. Over time, it converts individuals interested in your product or service into paying customers. And these customers can turn into loyalists and maybe even advocate your brand to their friends and family members. It's all about creating an unforgettable impression in the minds of the customer. This makes you everyone's first choice. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are also a great way to keep an eye on the competition. These profiles are always public and accessible to everyone, right? Because it is about visibility. Now, if you understand the competition, you will be able to find ways to beat them too. Analyzing social media profiles is a great way to improve upon your own strategies. In fact, you can even build on their ideas and beat them at their own game. The basic engagement metrics are available for everyone to see. You can keep tabs on their popularity to a certain extent while you are still working on your own. And you can do this even before you have a strategy or a profile of your own. In fact, you can also see the kind of queries they are getting and identify gaps to fill them with your product or service. It is a pretty neat trick, and it is all fair game. Check their content, keep an eye on the comments, and look at the features they are enabling to better serve their customers. Make yourselves aware of their strategy so that you can incorporate some of that into your own. Chapter 2. What is social media marketing? Using social media to your business advantage is not just a perk, but in this day and age, it is practically mandatory. But the idea itself evolved from publishing when businesses wanted to create interest in their product or service. Soon, social media platforms were being used for word-of-mouth reasons to boost sales. Today, this realm of marketing involves so much more than just pushing content. It can be used to monitor conversations about the brand itself. Likes, shares, engagement with posts in general, and tags are also extremely helpful indicators. These platforms can also be used to understand better ways of serving the brand's customers, loyal and new ones, by using them as informal channels of customer service. Businesses can also use this data to understand their appeal among different demographics and target new ones, thanks to the wealth of data that is provided by the likes of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Now, every business decides the kind of audience it wants to reach and creates ads on social media for those highly targeted groups of individuals. This is referred to as social media advertising, and the entire process is called social media management, or SMM. This includes creating posts in text, publishing pictures and videos, and making content that, in general, creates a discussion among the audience about your products and servicing. This also includes paid advertising. The first part of this is to make a plan that will help your business reach its goals. This takes some work because social media is quite fickle. There is no guarantee that what works today will continue to work 3 months later, or even 3 weeks. So, here's how you start defining the goals for your business on social media. What is your target audience demographic? What do I want to accomplish specifically with social media marketing? Which platforms does your target audience spend most of its time on? What is the message you want to send? This way, you will be in a better position to create content that is tailor-made to the audience you intend to target. Think of it as creating business relations with a brand you want to partner with. You learn all you can about their interests and fill the gaps in their existing environment right. Your approach towards your audience with your social media platforms should be similar. Create a compelling narrative for your brand. Tell your customers stories that they would want to share. These can be relatable stories or aspirational ones. Either way, it reaches them at a personal level, and that works. If you can get them to share your content, you are on the right track. And lack of shares is a big red flag. This is because a lot of people use social media to understand what they are getting themselves into. According to Oberlo, 94% of millennials are active social media users. 5% of Gen Z use social media vigorously. 2% of baby boomers do the same. 71% of consumers recommend a brand to their friends and family members if they have had a good experience with said brand on social media. So, no matter who you are trying to reach, having a social media strategy is key to the success of your brand. People from different walks of life, from age groups across the globe, are logging into their social media accounts several times a day to connect with individuals and businesses alike. It's a great place for them to find what they want, and even for businesses, it is a great place to understand consumer behavior. That is why investing in social media marketing is a sustainable way of ensuring the growth of a business. You can also keep them updated with upcoming launches and use these platforms to create a buzz around the event. You can even hold these launch events virtually to keep your international consumers hooked on your brand at a personal level. This is typically done with the help of live streaming. Unless you have been living under a rock, you have seen a couple of them yourselves. Following the launch, you can redirect these viewers to your e-commerce hosts and turn them into buying customers. All of this can be conveniently advertised on social media because, to be honest, that's where most people go to see if there is a buzz about your event. And because it is such an effective tool, grabbing eyeballs is becoming a sort of a competitive sport. The discussion is no longer about whether you need a social media presence, but how to make the most out of them while beating your competition effectively. Thankfully, this is not a virgin subject. So, there are many tips and tricks that businesses established and newbies can use to make their mark on the internet. From new methods like reaching out to the thousands of social media influencers who are taking birth every day to established ones like creating quality posts and keeping the audience hooked to your brand with consistency, there is so much you can do. Let's take a look at some of those now. Chapter 3. How to use social platforms to grow your business. More than 50% of the world's population is using social media actively, according to Global Digital Overview. That's more than 3 billion people, and they are all waiting to be turned into your loyal customers. A good social media strategy can do just that, and here are a few things you need to start with. Pick the right platform for your brand. The first thing to do is to pick a platform that is right for your brand. That requires looking into the kind of customers you want to target and understanding where they spend most of their time. This is not a place for guesswork. Instinct is to believe that baby boomers don't spend too much time on social media, and Gen Z audience spends a lot of their time on TikTok and Instagram instead of Facebook. But follow research. Facebook and Pinterest are still quite popular among adults who are over 60. There is a growing audience among adults over 65 years of age on Facebook. TikTok is another platform where brands are starting to experiment with advertising because of its popularity among the Gen Z crowd. In December 2020 alone, the app was downloaded by 56 million individuals, and these are new app downloads. Now, while these demographics are an indicator of trends, don't follow them blindly. Your social media strategy has to be specific to your brand and its potential customers. And you don't have to stick to just one platform. The best way to reach a range of businesses is to try different platforms and channels to meet your goals. Research shows that every internet user has about 8 social media accounts. This means you can connect with them on any and all of those platforms to suit your needs. For instance, if you are looking to generate leads and build an audience, Facebook is pretty great. If you are looking to improve customer service, Twitter is still a popular option. Think in that direction. Make a plan for your audience. The next step is to make a plan for your specific audience. Social media's efficiency lies in the fact that it gives you the ability to micro-target the audience. So, you need to study demographics and understand them first. Start by looking at your existing customers. Check your social media analytics to understand their behavior. Look into the data on who is your buyer and how they are connecting with you on any of these platforms. Gather information on the kind of hashtags and referrals for your website. That gives you a deeper look into your audience. Using that data, you can create what is called a buyer's persona. That will help you understand the best way to speak with your customers. After that, you must try and expand the range of your audience. This means bringing in more people, like your existing customers, on board. Sometimes that means you understand the demographic in one country and use a similar strategy in countries that have a look-alike audience. For instance, if you are running online courses, your understanding of the audience in the US can be used to reach similar demographics in Canada and even the UK. The Great Courses Plus has used this concept to increase their audiences in the UK, Canada, and Australia by about 10 times in monthly subscriptions. That, of course, is the total average. This strategy is not just limited to international operations. It can also be used by small and local businesses by monitoring conversations among existing buyers. From this, you can draw patterns to understand how the business can be expanded in the same region. During this process, it is important to remember that building a relationship with the consumer is critical. When you are a small business with a dedicated group of people to reach, you need to cash in on that situation. Instead of asking them to buy more products, try to establish a rapport with them. Use social media to push the product, but more importantly, let them connect with your brand. Over 44% of internet users make use of social media to look up brands and their products. That means if you run a good strategy, you have the opportunity to grab their eyeballs. If you stand out from the crowd, you might even be able to turn them into loyal customers. So, how do you stand out from the crowd? It's true that this is sometimes easier said than done. There is a lot of noise on the internet, especially social media, and every user is constantly trying to declutter their timelines. For instance, at any given point in time, Facebook users roughly deal with more than 1,000 posts on their newsfeed. You need to figure out how to get them to stop scrolling and check out your message. The best way to reach your audience is through engagement. When the crowd responds to your organic content, this means posts, pictures, and videos that you have not paid for. Talk to them through comments and personal messages when applicable. Engage with them and build a certain amount of trust. This kind of engagement is very exciting to the users. It inspires them to like and share your content, which in turn gives you entry into free and new avenues. On Facebook, engagement is a great analytical piece of information. The platform itself uses it to understand and predict the kind of posts a user is inclined to see. When you have a rapport with the followers of your Facebook page, they will end up seeing more of your stuff from those 1,000 posts in front of them. So, your focus should be on getting their attention and getting them to like your page. Over time, you can build a community of such followers who can be convinced to share your posts. That is a step towards reaching other potential customers, and eventually, you will see that it gives you returns in the form of increased sales. That's about getting new customers, but the other thing to pay attention to is to retain the existing ones. A survey by Hootsuite showed that 69% of the respondents said that social media was a big factor in helping them maintain customer relationships. Use this information to your advantage and increase your leads. But that's not all. You can use this information to even generate leads by targeting more groups of people. This has been proven to be a great factor in success. We will talk about that in detail in the following chapters, but here's a peek into how you do that, especially if you are a small business. Start by promoting gated content on your pages and groups on Facebook. Gated content is basically when a user needs to finish the process of filling a form or buying a subscription before they have access to said content. This is a standard way of generating leads to gather useful information about the user. So, what you must do is create content that works for the audience you are planning to target. This is because they need to get a little push to fill that form or purchase that subscription you are offering. When it comes to the content itself, visually appealing graphics and good copy, that is the text you use in and around the content, along with a call to action or a CTA, are good places to start. Chapter 4. Top social media platforms for small businesses and why you should be on them. Once you have identified the right platform for your brand, it is time to get cracking on the strategy. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all plan for this. Every platform is different from the other, and each of them has a different algorithm. So, you need to devise a plan that works for each of those individually. Let's take a look. As mentioned before, the first step is to create a profile on all of them. Your username or display name should be as close to the name of your business as possible. The exact same one, if you can manage that. Sometimes, these handles and URLs are taken, and you might have to buy them back. That's also something to seriously consider. Having the same name makes it easy for people to search and find your pages. Then you must add all the required information to your profile. Add the logo as your display image, and you are almost done. Finally, you must make sure that the people running these accounts have access to the accounts as an administrator. Some platforms also allow access as an editor. Take a look at your choices and decide who needs what kind of access. Now let's see how to strategize for each platform if you are a small business. Facebook. This one has a giant user base with more than 2 billion active users monthly. Your target customers are almost certain to be on this platform, which means you absolutely cannot ignore it. And luckily for small businesses, this platform is all about making it easy to build an audience through paid advertising. They target individual accounts based on those who engage with your organic or unpaid posts, because it is a good bet that they are interested in what you have to say. Content-wise, there are a few things to look out for. It is very pro-conversations. So if someone likes your page, they will get updates about your sales, promotions, product launches, and upcoming events. So, if you give them the right content and get them to engage with you, the chances of them entering and staying in your universe are pretty good. You can do this by creating a few different types of content and monitor the engagement, impressions, and shares carefully. Once you get a sense of what's working for your audience, double down on that. Then there is the matter of timing. How much should you share and how often? Luckily, there isn't a limit for businesses. But if you abuse that, your followers are quickly going to hit the unfollow button. Studies have shown that engagement drops significantly when you post too much content every day. But on the flip side, If you don't post enough, your audience might lose interest. So you have to find a balance. The best way to start is to see how much content needs to be promoted and then schedule your posts accordingly. Many businesses go for one post a day. Then there is the matter of boosting engagement. On Facebook, users can see business posts along with personal photo updates side by side. So don't worry about crowding their whole space. Make value-added posts and make sure they are visually appealing. That's a good start. Twitter. This is another great place for individuals and businesses to talk to each other. There are many tools that cater specifically to small businesses. It is very high-paced, with more than 500 million tweets sent out every day. There are more than 320 million active users monthly on Twitter, and you need some manpower to keep up with the pace of things. It is also the go-to for many users when it comes to updates on news and trends. Since 2017, Twitter has expanded to 280 characters per tweet, from its earlier 140-character limit, which has given both individual accounts and businesses the freedom to say a little more. You can even do threads of multiple tweets if you have more to say. However, like with Facebook posts, use this feature judiciously. Businesses, big and small, have a range of tweets from promotions to contests to sales. Some businesses are also good at sharing quirky updates to reach their audience. Industry updates and insights are also a great way to get people to follow you on Twitter. With thousands of tweets flooding their timelines, your customers might be apprehensive about following more accounts. And it is true that there is a good chance your stuff might get lost in the clutter. So, unlike Facebook, multiple tweets every day is a good idea when it comes to Twitter. This gives you the chance to be seen by followers and pique their interest. Encourage them to retweet and quote tweet your stuff, which gives you a chance to reach their follower base too. LinkedIn. Then there is one of the oldest social media platforms. LinkedIn has been around since 2002, when Kelly Clarkson won American Idol and Harry Potter, and the Chamber of Secrets just came out. Yeah, it has been that long. And just like the other social media giants, it offers several solutions for small businesses. It has more than 250 million active users monthly, and it is one of the most popular platforms among business-to-business marketers. Now, this is a place to connect with other business professionals. So, if an individual is following your company's profile, they are very likely to check out the information you put out rather keenly. This is also a good place for video content. So, create videos sharing insights about your product or service. And if you do a good job, you will see a huge boost to engagement. Then you need to figure out how often you must share these updates. One post a week actually gets you great results on LinkedIn. Make sure your employees are your brand ambassadors. Penetrate their network and get the word out to make sure you can be visible without flooding your followers with too many posts. Since this is a professional and a little formal space, make sure that the content is a resource of information. Speak with the voice of authority that you are, and give your followers as much information as you can. This is not a game of grabbing eyeballs, but keeping them engaged with intelligent information. And don't forget to add an image to your post, because this increases the conversion rate by 2 times more than posts without an image. Chapter 5. How to generate leads using social media. Generating leads. This is a very important step, and before you plan your social media assault, start by optimizing your profile so that you can identify organic leads first. This is the starting step before you plan any social media campaign. Your profile should have all the information that will help the viewers shop, sign up for your newsletter, and such. You need to add your contact information so that they know how to reach you if they have customer queries. This includes information like your phone numbers, email ID, and responses via messages. If there is another way, add that too. You must also consider adding call to action buttons that make your profile unique and give you a certain edge over your competitors. For instance, if you are planning to push your newsletter subscriptions, you must add a sign-up button on your Facebook page. If you want to increase bookings for consultations or tickets, Instagram and Facebook give you a reserve or get ticket button. These are also referred to as action buttons. In your bio, you must also add links like businesses often do on Instagram. And do mention in your post that the link is in the bio. You can also do the same in LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Twitter with the call to action buttons in a way that the consumer finds what they are looking for. Launch good lead magnet offers. If you give the customer the right incentive, they might just be forced to share their information with you for free. So, what is the right incentive? You need a lead magnet offer that appeals to your target audience. Whether it is a report or a free tool, find out what it is by analyzing their behavior. Sometimes, these offers also include webinars, white papers, and discounts. It depends entirely on the product or service you are offering. LinkedIn, for instance, promotes a free insight tag, which is the perfect example for a lead magnet offer. Some companies share predictions for the upcoming year and encourage people to read their analysis. Forrester did this by tweeting their predictions out and created interest around their gated content. Don't forget about special offers. Now, when we say special offers, we are also talking about freebies. They say there are no free lunches, but sometimes a snack isn't so bad. So, make sure you figure out what giveaways will attract attention on social media. These kinds of campaigns are very popular on social media and typically come with an entry form. All they need to do is fill up a form and collect their freebie. This gives you information and them something for free. It is a win-win for everyone involved. But you need to remember to add a button on the entry form that prompts the customers to share this information on their personal social media feeds. This way, you also manage to get the word of mouth going without bombarding users with annoying pop-up messages. And you also manage to reach lookalike customers that can potentially turn into buyers. When you are giving away exclusive content, the form must be planned out with strategic columns. Compartmentalize what you are giving away. Is it educational or informational? And depending on that, you know what kind of crowd you are likely to attract. Based on that, you can decide what kind of information you want to collect from them. Don't underestimate clickbaits. Then there is the beast on the internet called clickbait. You need compelling content, but the internet is also a place where everyone has a short attention span. So sometimes, even if you have good content, it is hard to create the attention it deserves. The post needs to have sharp text, and the images must be compelling. Your creative team must be on fire if you want to create usable links. The content you are offering must also be worth clicking on. So, for starters, make the button easy to find. There must be a clear link along with each post, and the call to action, whether it is in text or button form, needs to be in their face. Share testimonials. People tend to trust people they know or can relate to, and offering such proof in the form of testimonials is a great way to gain their trust. And yes, it converts into great leads too. Businesses are known to do this by showing off about the clients who have benefited from their products and services. This gives your brand credibility, unless you are Apple, that is its own brand ambassador. Research has shown that 2 out of 3 people are likely to buy stuff after watching testimonials from other people describing how a certain service has benefited them. It's an easy thing to cash in on, so don't let it go. One weirdo dothesis to turn customer reviews into testimonials. Has anyone ever bought anything online without looking for reviews? You can either make an animated video or get people to speak into the camera. How you present it depends on your brand presentation and the budget allocated to this part of marketing. Learn about sequential retargeting ads. Comedian Seth Meyers once said that his dad once told him that if someone doesn't laugh at a joke, don't repeat it. That's because there is no experience worse than having to listen to an unfunny joke twice. That advice is very much applicable to advertising too. This strand of marketing is called having sequential retargeting ads, and it means that the customers who visit your website or pages are put through a sequence of ads once they leave the page. This way, they don't have to suffer through the same ad. No matter how good it is, don't get offended over and over again. Instead, they see a whole set of ads that play sequentially. What this strategy does is that it amplifies your ability to advertise on social media, which helps you re-engage the audience you missed in the first go. This creates a lot of prospects for generating leads. It's like this. You can add an entry form at the beginning of their browsing experience, but they might skip it in the beginning and continue to browse your page. When they are about to leave the page, you give them another prompt to finish signing up for your newsletter or buy the subscription after all. Now that they have gone through your information, they might be inspired to give you their information. This is called retargeting the same crowd by giving them an extra push. This can be done on referral sites and through blog posts too. Don't assume that they have all signed up for your newsletter. Just because someone is engaging with you in one way doesn't mean they are doing the same on all platforms. This kind of retargeting can increase your lead generation prospects by 10 times when compared to the click-through rate that comes from display advertising. Chapter 6. Strategies to promote your business using social media. Some of the most effective strategies are sometimes the simplest ones. As they say, the devil does lie in the details. So, here are a few basic things you can do on social media to get your brand the attention it deserves. And the best news is that it won't cost you a penny. Create a publishing calendar. The first thing to do is create a message and the corresponding content. Once you have that, you need to figure out when and where you will be posting that content. That process can be streamlined by creating a message calendar. Without that, you will inevitably end up struggling to post content at the last minute. And more often than not, that is going to be low quality and lacking the intelligence it needs. The lack of time also compels you to repeat posts, and that's a massive bummer too. Nuna likes to see the same stuff on their timeline over and over again. And people have better memories than we think. But plan it a little in advance, and you will come up with some terrific ideas that gain your social media accounts the momentum they need to reach the intended audience. When you outcreate a content calendar, you avoid falling into these obvious traps. And while you are planning this content, you also have time to think about the metrics of what works when. Accordingly, you can create a goal and make a strategy by reverse engineering the process. Monitor that process, and there are some important lessons for every business. You need a calendar for each social media platform, and you must remember to add the right links, images, and hashtags that suit each of those platforms. Speaking of metadata, let's talk about hashtags. Use the right hashtags. There was a time when you had to create hashtags and do this intuitively. But now there are many tools on the internet like Keyword Generator, which can give you keywords and hashtags that go perfectly well with your content. Use these tools efficiently to get your post the required attention. Hashtags are extremely useful when it comes to promoting posts, whether it is for branded posts or special occasions like contests and giveaways. Adding them on platforms like Instagram adds a great deal of value and also reaches anyone who clicks on the same. You can also ask your audience to use the same hashtags when they are responding to your posts. This is a great way to spread word of mouth, especially when you are running a contest or a special offer. Share video content. There is no conversation about marketing a brand on social media without talking about video content. It is now quite clear that more and more people are consuming information through videos on their phones rather than reading stuff. It is a great tool to send your message while conveying tone and personality. Videos are also seen as a way to hold the attention of your audience. When social media users are scrolling down their feeds, visual cues are pretty much the only ones they are stopping for. That is why videos and images have the great power to grab their attention and possibly get you the engagement you need. Also, with a video, you have the opportunity to say a lot more than you can in a regular text post. You don't take too much space, and the viewer does not have to actively read. Videos are somewhat passive and give the viewer the impression that all they have to do is sit back and watch the content unfold. But you do need to put your energy into creating narratives that capture their imagination and appeal to them at a personal level to get the response you were hoping for. Make use-off cross-promotion effectively. You have a presence on social media platforms. What you need to do next is to promote those channels across the channels so that you can remind your followers to get your content everywhere. This is advantageous because you will be creating content that is specific for a platform. Just because an individual follows you on Facebook doesn't mean they can skip Twitter or Instagram. Don't hesitate to ask them to follow you on other platforms time and again. Remind them that the content and even perhaps the offers vary from one platform to the other. You can get a link from one platform with a call to action and ask them to follow the handle on the other. It is a very simple technique and takes very little effort and almost no planning too. It really doesn't get easier than this. You can also mention your handles in your bio on all your pages, along with the URLs, and encourage the visitors to follow you everywhere. Different content for different platforms. We mentioned earlier that the content on each platform must be unique. This is because each platform has its own algorithm, and the content on these platforms gets pushed to the subscriber base based on these calculations. That is because the likes of Facebook and Instagram are constantly analyzing viewer consumption patterns and changing the algorithm to present content in the way the majority is consuming it. When you adapt your content to meet the requirements of the platform, your efforts will be appreciated. Viewers will recognize that you are in sync with their needs and respond to them. For example, if you post entertaining content on Facebook, your chances of getting more shares increase. Give it a nice headline and try to form an emotional bond with your followers. This works. LinkedIn, on the other hand, is a more professional space, so your content must be tailored towards those who are looking for resourceful information. Then there is Twitter, where being on top of trends and being witty about it works. Make your audience curious. Make the content catchy and interesting. On Instagram, it is primarily about how visually appealing you can be. Add a couple of great photos, make a really well-produced video, and you will see the results almost instantly. Chapter 7. How to create engaging social content. We've talked about creating different types of content for different platforms, but what should you keep in mind while creating this content? There are a few easy ways to get the attention of your audience without having to invest too much time or effort. Let's look at some templates that will get your brand the engagement that you are looking for. Ask a question. The simplest form of a call to action is to ask a question. Even better if you can provoke some thought through it. What do you do when you are trying to be conversational? How are you today? Is a pretty good conversation starter in real life. But that's not going to get anyone's attention on social media unless it has a really interesting context. For instance, if you're talking about health drinks, one idea is to sell it as an alternative to soft drinks, right? So that's your cue. Pepsi or Coke? Nah. What about? You can even suggest an answer to nudge them towards your brand if you are not a well-established name in the industry. What you need to do essentially is to get people thinking about your product or service. The idea is to ask them for their opinion because, well, everyone has one, and people like giving their 2 bits on social media. In fact, a lot of people think that's the perfect place for it. What you must do is cash in on this facet of their personality. You can do a poll on Facebook or Twitter and get them to engage with your posts. You can give them a quiz and challenge their knowledge on a subject. That way, they also learn something. You can ask them to write an email and post the ID at the end of the post. It is not likely to get too many responses, but some people really do take the time. This also makes them click through. You can use that opportunity to gather their information and send newsletters and surveys to their email ID. And while you're at it, make it personal. Say, "Write to me," instead of "Write to us." This is a great play. Sometimes you don't even have to come up with clever lines. Forums like Quora and Reddit are great places to conduct these kinds of informal research. You can also do this in the form of blog posts and live streams. Get the community to interact and give their opinions. Interact with them live and keep their interest in the chat. Humanize your content. Billions of users are on any given social media platform every month. This has turned social media into a great place to share human interest stories. People are always looking for positive, uplifting stories. When it comes to sharing stories about your product or service, going with human interest hardly ever fails. It's a good story, and one that everyone wants to hear. Tell them stories about your team members and what they consider to be a win. Usually, this is built around making a customer happy. Also, use the moment to tell them how your product or service bridges the gap between the other existing products and the problems customers are having with said products. You don't have to point fingers at anyone in particular. Just highlight the problem and the solution you are offering. That's it. And at the end of the day, remember this simple little detail. If a brand is trying to sell them something, people don't really want to know unless they are loyal to that tag. If a brand is trying to do the same with good graphics and videos, some are willing to pay attention to it. But when a brand is telling a good and personal story, a lot of people will give it their time and attention, and soon, hopefully, their money too. When it comes to business social media outreach, you need to focus on useful information. Just make sure it is not dull and matches the vibe of the platform. Use pictures, videos, and statistics to draw the crowd depending on the platform you are using to reach them. The right way of doing this is to spend about 10% of your content on these kinds of stories. You can take it up or down depending on your audience and the brand reputation you have created for yourself. You can also do this as a one-off for certain campaigns when you decide to change your tone. Monitor audience behavior. Then it is time to keep an eye out for the response. This is not just to understand the impact of your existing posts, but also to learn what works so that you can plan your future strategy. This, of course, is more applicable to brands that have been in the social media game for a while. All social media platforms give you analytics that tell you a lot of specific things about user behavior. And weno bino thakwatiasili, people engage more with visual posts. Anything with pictures and videos gets a second look compared to those text posts. On Facebook, for instance, you can check this by going into your page insights, clicking on posts, and then checking post types. Be a good listener, monitoring discussions, using your target keywords, and tags of topics on online forums is an extremely important part of understanding what your existing and potential customers want from you. This is helpful not just with your content, but also with the stuff that your competition is pushing out. See how the customer base is responding to their posts and learn whatever you can from it. Chapter 8, 10 Social Media Do's and Don'ts. They say no press is bad press, but that is so not true if you are a brand with a social media presence. But not to worry, there are a few easy ways to keep tabs on what to do and what not to do so that you can make the most of your presence and avoid the common trappings of this highly capricious medium. Take a look. Yes, no shortcuts. There are no free lunches in life. The same goes for social media presentations. No matter how well your content is, you do not top the charts in a day. Nothing magical happens overnight. It takes many human hours to be a successful brand on social media. You have to have a plan for your everyday activity, but you must also keep looking at the big picture and make changes based on your learnings. Paid promotion and buying followers are both certainly options, but that is not a sustainable strategy on its own. You cannot trick people into thinking you are the go-to brand for a product or service if you do not deliver on the promise and keep doing so consistently. You can try the good all shock and awe policy, but its returns will be short-lived. So, calculate the time and resources at hand, roll up your sleeves, and get to work. Yes, add value. At the end of the day, these platforms are just another way for you to reach your audience. So, keep your content interesting no matter the format you use. You can work well with teasers, but there must be a value add at the end of it. If there is no message to take home, all the bling is just that. Customers will see the bells and whistles and discard you as a brand with no actual material. On the other hand, if you deliver a good take-home message, you can expect that to transform into sales as well as some meaningful partnerships. Put some thought into the posts you plan for your followers. Your ideal case scenario is to make them fall in love with your brand. Do not compromise on that. It may take time, but if you come in with a smart strategy and execute it well enough, you will get there. This also brings your customers back to your brand repeatedly and builds a loyal relationship between the two entities. Yes, have clear goals. Achieving those results is no accident. It takes a clear set of goals that need to be planned right at the beginning. Whether it is your overall strategy or strategy for one particular campaign, you need to be clear on what you are trying to achieve. This can be in terms of gaining numbers and slash or monetary return on investment, depending on the budget. Make sure your message reflects these goals, from conversion rates to brand awareness to improving customer support. Whatever your goals, there are many reasons to pick a certain strategy, but the key to success is for each of them to be pursued with clarity, because the same approach does not work for them all. You want to put up some numbers as a tangible measure of what you want to achieve, and you want to place some deadlines for these goals. That way, you can stay focused on your efforts, but make sure the numbers come from research and aren't arbitrary, because at the end of the day, you need a plan for it. Without a goal and a plan working towards it, you don't know if your strategy is working, and the same is the case if you have surpassed your goals. Yes, stay consistent. Then there is the mistake that a lot of businesses make. Once you reach a certain point, there is a temptation to think you're above the game. No oneies. The social media crowd is the classic example of the old adage, the customer is king. A couple of bad comments or reviews is all it takes for people to doubt your brand. A lot of businesses make the mistake of abandoning a regular posting schedule with a clear daily, weekly, and monthly message calendar. That is criminal when it comes to social media strategy. If that's one kind of inconsistency, the other mistake is to be visually inconsistent. The logo and brand colors you use must be the same everywhere. Domino's only uses that red and blue. Coke is all about the red and Pepsi the blue. Even when you have different colors, like chips with different flavors, make sure you stick to one color scheme across platforms at any given point in time. This way, whether you are a newbie or an established brand, your audience will always know how to pick you from a lineup. Otherwise, they get confused if they are on the right page. Yes, take advantage of promoted content options. If you don't have a big budget, or any for that matter, you will be relying on organic reach for your content. But if you can spare some moolah, there is the option of promoting your page and products. This is very cost-effective when compared to traditional advertising. It gives your page and posts a great boost, ensuring that a lot more people have seen it at the right time of the day. This can help a great deal with revenue and conversion rates when compared to organic reach. No, don't overdo the hashtags. Then there are things you should never do. Hashtags are great, but not if you overdo them. You might want to reach as many people as you can with these, but too many hashtags are no longer the case and hence makes for a bad strategy. People see that it is a gimmick and tend to ignore the post even if it has value. What's worse, you will attract bots instead of actual customers. No, check your spellings and grammar. This is just awful. You might be human and mistakes are a possibility. That is why you should have spell check enabled, and then get someone else to take a look at your copy too. Bad grammar and spelling tell your audience that your attention was elsewhere when you were posting it. When you are trying to make a sale, the last thing you want is for the customer to think you are not interested in them. No, don't spam them. Some businesses still think that a lot of information gives the audience the chance to sit with all of it. Nope. People don't want to be flooded with posts because it starts to feel like spam. It seems forced, and no one likes to be bombarded with too many alerts from one page. Businesses often seem to think this will help them gain followers. If anything, you will lose some. No, don't only chase the numbers. Speaking of followers, a lot of tricks we talked about in this book are about gaining an audience, but don't restrict yourself to the numbers. Social media is a fickle place, and consumers change their minds every day. If you want to keep the numbers consistent, if not growing, you need to build a relationship with your followers instead of just looking at the numbers on the homepage. Quality over quantity, always. No voice of authority. Yes, but know it all know. When you talk about your product or service or your industry, you want to sound like the voice of authority that you are. Be confident and knowledgeable, but don't be a show-off. That looks like arrogance and is condescending to your consumers. Even if you think they don't know anything about the subject, present yourself as a positive expert. Chapter 9. What metrics to track using social media? When it comes to reading the results of your efforts, social media has made it very easy for businesses to gauge their success. The numbers are there for everyone to see, and there are no lies here. Well, almost. You can't create goals if you don't have access to these metrics. And it is a good thing because it lets you make sense of what kind of strategy is working for the people and what you need to do to make it better. We talked about goals and focusing on numbers, but not chasing them exclusively. Right. Here's how that's done. Set a business goal to increase your conversion rate. Use that as a benchmark to create a social media strategy and create posts accordingly. Identify the metrics that indicate to you whether or not your strategy is working. Include the right keywords, hashtags, and product tags along with your ads. Measure this using analytics. Engagement. This is the first metric you need to understand, but this is more of an umbrella term. It contains the following: likes, comments, shares, or retweets are all individual metrics of engagement that add up. If you are checking Twitter, you can get a report which summarizes all the engagement for a specific tweet. Then there is the engagement rate. This is the number of engagements divided by the reach or impressions. When the numbers are high, you can rest assured that people find your tweet or post interesting. Then there are your mentions. When it is organic, it means that you are able to create brand awareness without having to prompt action from the users. That's a good sign too. Just one of these numbers only gives you a partial picture of the impact of your post. To create a full strategy, you need to look at the context, which can only be obtained by looking at them all. So, if your post has a lot of likes, but not shares or comments, it means that the impact is still limited. There is a lot to unpack there. It is not necessarily a bad thing, but it might mean that there is room to improve. Maybe you added app picture, but the caption did not have a call to action. Work on that. But if you did have a call to action and still saw no shares or comments, that usually means that the post failed to impress the audience. Impressions and reach. These are two other metrics that often confuse businesses. If you are working towards improving or even understanding brand perception and awareness, you need to look at these. Here's how you know the difference. Impressions tell you how many times a user saw it on their timeline. Reach, on the other hand, tells you the possible number of unique viewers your post could have, reached. Typically, this is calculated by adding your number of followers and the follower count of the accounts that shared your post. What you learn from impressions is the potential your content has in terms of visibility on any given platform. You want to look at both impressions and engagement if you want to improve your brand awareness and inform your audience about a specific product or service you talk about in the said post. If your post has a lot of impressions but not as much engagement, you can conclude that people saw it but were not impressed. So, it's time to work on the content, referrals, and conversion. Typically, e-commerce websites start by keeping track of these two metrics, because they are directly linked to marketing and sales. This is the goal of every business, but you will need to devise a publishing strategy with trackers if you want to understand the traffic analytics of your website. Through this, you can learn if the traffic is coming in from social media and also learn about mentions on Twitter, etc., using tools like Sprout. Referrals tell you about the users who actually land on your website. You can see where these users came from, and typically, you can see your social media traffic under a separate tab no matter the tool you are using to get the information. Conversion is about the purchases made on your site. A viewer has been converted into a paying customer. A social conversion is one that happened because of the content posted on a social media platform, and it all happened in one go. You should also learn about click-through rate, or CTR, when it comes to both posts and ads. This is the number which tells you how many times a user has clicked on the content of your posts. It gives you the data on impressions because they saw the ad or post too. When the CTR numbers are high, it means you ran a good ad and got results. This can be measured using email links, call to action buttons, and specific social media ads too. Chapter 10, Conclusion. There is a lot to capture and understand when it comes to social media so that you can use it to your benefit. Each company must create a strategy that is specific to its purpose. Your goals, message, and publishing calendars are not templates that can be downloaded. You can, however, get some templates to build these calendars and customize them to meet your brand and its audience's needs. So, if you are a business that wants to get the word out and as many customers in as possible, this is the perfect tool for you to decode. What's more, you can grow a business just with your online presence at a fraction of the cost of what you would end up spending if you focused only on traditional techniques of marketing. You will hardly ever see anyone with internet access not have a Facebook account. No, we're not talking about your uber cool, new age buddy who is beyond the drama of their peers. Facebook has gotten so big that it is virtually a nation, and one that is extremely well connected. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram are also a part of this growth brigade, and everyone's lives have been overtaken by this magic. We'd call it a whirlwind, but it is more like a tsunami. The good kind, though. Well, for the most part, this is a great time for businesses to be thinking about maximizing their potential because, for one, you don't need to spend as much and would still be justified in expecting tangible results from this strand of marketing. There is plenty of data that is being handed to you on a platter by users themselves. All you need to do is mine it and break it down so that you can reach them at a personal and real level. They keep saying this is the era of information, and that data is today's oil. If you fail to miss that cue and make your mark, it is no one else's fault but yours and yours alone.